Tom Murphy into the program, Whole Hog Sports Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Tom, I wonder your thoughts. Hunter Yurachek, at least on the surface, seems to be embracing paying these fines after the Texas game, after the Auburn game on Tuesday night. What are your thoughts on a guy who's in a situation financially and just how he approaches the students and the university athletics here at Arkansas in his tenure thus far?
Well, good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Hunter Yurachek has done a great job connecting, I think, with the fan base through social media. And I want to say every competition, he tweets something, good luck to this team, in this event. And, he tweeted priceless. And he had the picture of Razorback Stadium and the Texas field rushing in September and the basketball court from the Auburn game. So, yeah, I mean, why would you the day after or the day you beat Auburn say, hey, let's don't be doing this? So, yeah, I mean, it's costly. $250,000 doesn't come – that's not pocket change, y'all. And when you've just gone through COVID and they had to make some really tough decisions with their budget and their finances, it's not easy. So, yeah. But, hey, hopefully if, say, Kentucky comes in here and Arkansas beats Kentucky, that won't be repeated. Because I'm of the opinion that, okay, that was great. You beat number one. Let's act like a team that's used to beating number ones now. Yeah.
And when you look at this game Tuesday night, Tom, and just the significance of it, not only for this season but historically, if you're Eric Musselman, you're that staff, and the players, all they're going to hear about in class this week is how great they are, how they just beat the number one team in the country. How do you convince them? How do you get them to move on from that win when they take on a really salty Alabama team come Saturday?
Well, I mean, there's a euphoria that goes with it, and it probably yesterday they were probably very swelled with pride wherever they went, but they got an extra day, and as you guys saw, Alabama, I think I changed the channel late in the game, but I think they put one on Ole Miss last night. So, they'll be refocused. The last time they went to Tuscaloosa was as bad as Arkansas got beat last year. So I think it will be very easy. And honestly, it comes to this. I mean, I think they're going to defend Alabama well. But if Alabama's making his three-point shot, they're very hard to beat. And if they struggle from three, they're not so tough to beat. Arkansas just got to be better on the board. I mean, they got clobbered against Auburn, and there were so many offensive rebounds by the Tigers in that game that it's really hard to win a game when that happens. But they got more free throws, they got more points off turnovers, so I guess that kind of balanced out.
Yeah, and that was the difference in the game is the free throws, because Auburn made more shots from the floor than Arkansas to the tune of about 7, so that's at least 14 points. Arkansas had 32 free throw attempts. Auburn had 17. If the roles were reversed and Arkansas had that many 15 fewer free throw attempts in a game you lost in overtime, people would be going nuts, Tom. They'd be screaming and yelling about officiating if Arkansas was minus 15 at the free throw line on attempts. And that's really the bottom line in the ball game is Arkansas found a way to get to the line, and that overcame, because really when you look at the rebounds, the margins in the offensive boards, 13 of that 18 differential was putbacks, stick back, put back where they were missing shots, and Kessler was just tapping them. He had 8 offensive boards himself.
Yeah, that was the difference. And y'all, I listened to the entire game. I had low volume on Chuck and Matt TV and the Auburn radio, and let me tell you that Sonny and I can't think of his name right now. Their main play-by-play guy, they were carping and complaining about the officiating the whole time. There was one where Wendell Green was driving, and he pushed off, and he also fell, on the play, and they called him for an offensive foul, and they went berserk. Like, they called him for a charge, and he fell on the floor. Well, yeah, he also stuck his arm out. So I just think that both sides, it was such a physical game. I thought the refs did a pretty good job of, not calling everything, because there was so much that could have been called in that game. A bunch of over the backs, a bunch of contact on drives. I stopped counting the offensive fouls. There was so many hookings over the backs, charges, every kind of illegal screens, every kind of offensive foul.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a very physical game. There's no question. All right, we were talking about polls, and everybody's wanting to know where Arkansas should be ranked. You vote in the football poll, not the basketball poll, but you've got experience voting in these the polls of consequence. Considering where Arkansas's record is at with 5 losses, tied for third in the SEC with Tennessee, what would be the proper ranking, or should there be a ranking for Arkansas after beating number 1 Auburn?
I do. I think they should be ranked. I mean, they have 5 losses, and you look at the teams down there at the bottom. I mean, I think St. Mary's and somebody else were like newcomers back to the poll this last week, and Murray State. So St. Mary's and Murray State got in. Well, those are good teams in mid-major conferences, but if they played in the SEC, would they have Arkansas's record? I don't think so. I saw that Jeff Goodman put out his poll yesterday, and the last 3 teams were LSU, Alabama, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'd have Arkansas over both of those other SEC teams right now. They beat LSU on the road, and Alabama's conference record is much worse. So I think they ought to be somewhere around 20.
Yeah, and that was kind of our opinion, because I don't think you can move them ahead of Tennessee until they played. Tennessee's record isn't as good, but their resume is better, and they're equal in SEC games. So if you believe Tennessee is properly ranked at 19, I'm with you. Arkansas's at 21 or somewhere right around there, but they cannot be behind LSU. They've got to be further up, and right now they've proven they're the 3rd or 4th best team in this league, Tom.
They really have, and if they beat Alabama, I mean, there's no question they'll be ranked come Monday. And if they lose to them, if they give a really good game down there, I think they should still be ranked.
I agree.
So look, you can't compare what Arkansas is doing really with St. Mary's. I mean, their schedules are vastly different and all that kind of stuff. So, it's just a subjective thing, and whatever motivation Arkansas needs, they appear to be on their way to making the postseason, and then they can show people then.
Tom, I want to switch it up and talk some football with you. You've got 5 Razorbacks that have been invited to the NFL Combine. I've seen a lot of mock drafts. I love mock drafts, NFL, NBA. Traylon Burks, I think, has been in 99% of the first-round ones that I've seen. Is there any chance that he isn't a first-round draft pick come April?
Well, I mean, you never say never. In the NFL, you never know what people are going to do. He needs to show up at the Combine in good shape and not have been, eating good food down in Warren and not working out well in the intervening months. So if he does well at the Combine, they look at the tape, they talk to the kid and what his passion for being a good football player is about. I think he'll be fine. And if he were the first receiver to be taken, that'd be pretty cool for the Razorbacks.
You look at the other guys, Monteric Brown, Myron Cunningham, John Ridgway, Trey Williams. Of those 4, who has the most to gain in this upcoming NFL Combine?
Let's see. I think Ridgway's appearance at the Senior Bowl, from what I saw, he practiced well, and that's a big deal. I think he's going to be a draft choice. I mean, Monteric Brown, he could go show the folks that he's got good hips, good speed, and understands the game. And again, all of them could stand to gain in some way or shape at the Combine.
Yeah. Tom Murphy with us here. Let's switch back to basketball for just a second. We were talking about the Alabama game coming up this weekend. Alabama's been so up and down. You watched some of them last night. They trailed early, came back and put Ole Miss away pretty good. What does Arkansas have to do to keep this streak? Because we have to understand, Auburn's streak came to a close in 19. Arkansas's streak, I think, is more likely to come to a close on the road somewhere. Alabama, Tennessee, somewhere like that. It can't be Missouri because of where they stand. How do you avoid the trap, Tom, of still, the afterglow of Tuesday night not wearing over into your game on Saturday?
Well, I just think if they lose to Bama, it won't be because they were still celebrating. It will be, just because Alabama, got hot from 3 or whatever they do. Alabama's such an interesting team, and I actually wrote about them this weekend to lead my SEC report because their analytics say, take 3-pointers or shoot layups. And they have guys like Quinterly and some others who are really good at blow-bys. And so you have to defend them out on the perimeter. And, Shackelford, and he got off last night, by the way. So you have to defend the threes with those guys and then risk the penetration and dishes and stuff like that. So they probably do that about as well as anybody in the country. And, Jalen Williams has got to be in position to protect the rim like he always does. And then don't just get crushed on the boards again, And they did a much better job in the second half. I think Musselman had a funny quote about how he told the guys in the locker room, look, we say get back on defense, but that doesn't mean offensive rebounds are allergic. And Audi's Tony got in and got one in the first 30 seconds of the second half and got to put back, and they got a few more in the game. So they just have to be able to rebound better, too.
Alabama played on the road last night, as we mentioned. I think it's important that Arkansas had that extra day with the emotion, the physicality of the game, just the everything that's went on following a defeat of number 1 Auburn. Tom, I think having that extra day to process and deal with all of that's going to be large for them on Saturday, just to have 24 extra hours, particularly compared to Alabama, who played last night.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. So there yesterday, whatever they got done yesterday was gravy as Alabama was playing a game. Mm-hmm. And it was a road game, so they had to, get back later last night. So, yeah, I fully agree with that. I think we're going to see a tremendous game, and Alabama's got to be smarting a little bit. You win the conference championship for the first time in a long time and the tournament. Nice deep penetration in the NCAAs. They probably should have beat UCLA on the game they lost. And now this year, they're underwater in conference play. What's happened? They don't have Herbert Jones. Maybe they're not as connected defensively. But I think there's a lot of pride with those guys, and I think we're going to see a tremendous game come Saturday.
Tom, appreciate the insight as always. We'll talk on Monday, see what happens in this game Saturday at 11 a.m.
You betcha, guys. I enjoyed it. Have a good weekend.
All right, Tom Murphy with us here on Thursday
The game
morning.
is finally here as we hit Super Sunday with the last game of the football season. From scored, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, Betonline is the #1 spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. And with the new year comes a new updated desktop and mobile website. Sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. And it's not just football. BetOnline's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline is your #1 online wagering destination. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts.